All right. Good to go.
All right. Welcome to the Raw Report. Thank you for being here. It's always good to see you folks. I can't see any of you, but in my head, I see you. I imagine you. And it really makes me feel warm inside. I am Jason Shabiro, the Senior Director of Comedy Programming here at SiriusXM, joined as always by one of my favorite comedians in the whole goddamn world, Mr. Andrew J. Fiore.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm very excited.
You sound more excited than other episodes. I guess we'll find out why in a little bit.
Big show.
Big show. We got a big show. And of course, we're joined by the super producer, Mr. Lewis Johnson.
Can you tell I'm also pumped for this?
We're all just pumped. Everyone here is pumped. It's smiles all around.
Lewis always has it. He maintains a cool calm, though, even through excitement, or you never know with this guy.
Right. It's a tough guy to read, but I feel like everyone's all excited. Liz Furiotti may be joining us, maybe not joining. She'll pop in perhaps, but it doesn't matter. It's not about us. No one really cares about us. We're just the people doing our job. What we do care about is when we have amazing, amazing guests on the show. And I couldn't be more thrilled to welcome to the show for the first time, Mr. Terry Crews.
Hello. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Terry? How are you?
We're good.
Good. I'm good, man. Very good.
Good.
First of all, we're all huge fans of yours, and it's great to finally meet you, or Zoom meet you. It's almost as good. It still counts. But you are one of those guys that just does everything. You're just doing all this stuff. Like most people know you as an actor, and we could get into that stuff later, but you have a new graphic novel on sale on the 8th called Terry's Crew.
Terry's Crew.
Middle grade graphic novel for sort of like the 12-ish, 8 earlier than that, kind of like younger.
Yeah, 8 to 13. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way,
sweet spot.
You called it a sweet spot. I remember being 12 to 13. That was the single worst time of my life. I was the most.
That's when you're reading graphic novels, baby.
I'm saying, like, that's when I looked the most awkward and disgusting. I couldn't talk to people. I hated everything and myself the most. So, Terry, I mean, when you write a graphic novel like this, with that age group, that tough age group in mind, why did you choose that group of kids? What brought you to this?
Man, just what you said, that is the most awkward, the most, you're trying to find out what's going on in life. You don't understand. You're embarrassed about everything. Everything is World War III. It's all, anything that happens is the biggest thing that would ever happen to you in your life. And I have to tell you this, I have never in my mind gone past 12 years old. I'm always there. I'm 54, but I have kids older than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, it's always been this way, but I always write my books for that kid, for that 12-year-old kid. This is like my 4th book. I have some books, a book that came out called Tough earlier in the year, but this is like, I'm speaking directly to them, but it's through the stories of my life, like all the stuff, because a lot of people always feel like once you get rich and famous and big time and all that stuff, they feel like it was always that way. I am from Flint, Michigan. I am, I was a bedwetter. I was a kid that had a lot of issues. There was just coming up in Flint, Michigan, man, the auto industry was dying. The crack epidemic was taking over.
Right.
It was a panic. I like to say it was like Walking Dead in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And the hardest thing to do as a kid growing up in Flint, Michigan is dream, because it was so wild. There were so many reasons why you should let your dreams go. And I never did. I never, ever did. And I'm so thankful. But the reason I never did was because I found the right people. I found the right crew. I had the right connection to other friends, other people. Because I'm gonna talk a little bit, because when I was a kid, I used to go up to grown men and be like, what is it like to be a man? Like, tell me what it is. You know what they would say? They would go, you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out.
That's good.
And-
I just used to ask them to buy me alcohol, Terry. That was that,
Oh, they'll do that real quick. You know what I mean? That's not a problem. Here. But I wanted to know what the secret to life was. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was so bad. It was so bad. My best friend at the time, his name was Darwin. And I said, hey, man, if you find out something that I don't know, promise me you'll tell me. And if I find out something that you don't know, I promise to tell you. We were raising each other.
Mhm.
And it was wild. My own father wouldn't talk to me. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
it was a thing where I had to discover things the hard way, but because I had good friends and I had people that believed in me and I believed in them, I was able to really be this guy that was able to get out of a situation that normally, there's so many ways that I could have went wrong. And I'm just so thankful.
I
Absolutely.
love the message of the book where it's people always try to put you in a box. For example, myself, I grew up in the South in Georgia, one of maybe 3 or 4 African-American kids in my class, not the classroom, the class. And I really liked country music and rock music, but everyone wanted me to listen to hip hop and R&B. I love the book. I could have used this book growing up. Really, it's a great message. I
Thank
cannot wait for it to come out on the 8th. I'm going to pre-order it today. I'm so excited.
Louis, you have to understand, man. I actually had to dumb down when on my way to school, because here I was an artist, and the whole thing, and I had all these interests, but then the thing is that I had to, in order to not get chastised, because when I would talk about things and they would like, hey man, why are you talking white? And I was like, no, man, I'm just, nah, I don't know what you're talking about, man. And I would have to, that was my first acting gig, was literally being 12, walking to school, because you had gang members, you had drug dealers, you had all this other elements that, if you try to feel like you wanted to be somebody, it was like a personal affront to a lot of people in the community. And it was so wild. And they say, man, he talking white, he think he's smart. And you're like, oh my God. So, but then when I went to the school, I got picked to go to a school. It was a magnet school called Flint Academy. And what they did, they picked you off of your talent. Like some people had math talent, some people had were writers, and I was an artist. So my art is what got me there. But this is the thing, I love athletics as well. And being an athlete basically coded the street, so I had a little neck, I had muscles. So they, that was kind of to keep the gang members and drug dealers at bay and the whole thing. But the deal is that when I would go to art class as an athlete, they would thought I was just a jock. Like, oh man, he doesn't belong here. He's not like us. And then when I would go to football practice as an artist, they say, man, you got to get that art stuff up, man. You're going to break your hands.
You can't win.
Oh yeah. Listen, all I heard was the version of why I shouldn't.
Right.
And what I did was say, why not? Why can't I do this? Why? And you gotta understand, I host the world's biggest talent show, but at the time I hosted my high school talent show, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. I saw everything I'm doing right now. I saw it and I dreamed it. I used to look out my window and say, this is what I want. This is who I want to be. I want to be able to do 5, 6, 7 things. I get bored doing one thing. You know what I mean? To me, it's the process. Once I got it, I got to move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? So it's, when I look at that, I want all these kids to know that is okay. It's okay to do that. You know what I mean? Because at the time, they would literally tell you, shut that all down and get a job in a factory. Whatever you're talking about, it ain't gonna happen for you. And these are grown men talking to a young kid.
Killing his dreams.
But that's a thing that you see a lot of time. Unfortunately, you see when people kind of lost their dream or they kind of get their spirit broken, especially when it's older people to kids, because kids don't have that loss and that bitterness yet. Kids are great. Kids are excited to be here. Kids optimistic. You know, you always say, I mean, I've said it to kids before too, like, we're like, all right, you're just happy because you haven't been around long enough. Like, talk to me in 10 years. But it's a shame when you have a kid who has all these dreams and wants to do all this stuff and people just tell you not to do it or it's not going to work out. That's cruel. It's crazy that we're like that. Kind of as a society.
But wait, but think about this. Think about this. It's not that they don't like you. They think they're doing you a favor.
Yes.
You understand what I mean? They think they're helping you. I got a story, man. This is a story that's crazy. I wanted to play football. I never, this was my biggest mistake, is I always told people what I was dreaming. And they were like, they put a bead on it. It was you know, and I had a teacher who was like, oh, you want to play football? I said, yeah, I want to play football. I want to be a football player. I want to do this. And I'm 12. And the teacher said, okay, well, look, I went to the University of Michigan. I'm going to take you to Michigan. And so he picked me up. He got my parents' permission. He picked me up on Saturday morning. We drove from Flint to Ann Arbor. When you got to understand it, Ann Arbor was not like the Michigan I was from. Ann Arbor is like Beverly Hills, okay? And we went there, and I had never seen anything like this in my life. We went to the game. It was 105,000 people in the stadium, packed out, Michigan strong. And I'm going, whoa. He took me to the alumni brunch, which was before the game. We're eating all this, but there's like a table full of food. I'm like, oh my God. He's showing me off, showing me all these people, all this stuff. Man, the game is fantastic. The school is amazing. We're in the car on the way back to Flint. And I'm like, dude, I said, I'm going to Michigan, man. This is amazing. And he said, what? What? You can't go to Michigan.
Really?
I said, what are you talking about? I said, dude, Michigan that's where I want to go. He said, Terry, you're not Michigan material. Michigan is a little above where you should be aiming. He said, you should look at a couple community colleges and maybe, you know, you can get by there, but you probably will never be able to go to Michigan. And
how did you respond?
Listen, I was very respectful to all adults. So I was like nodded, but in my head, I was like, why did you take me why did you even take me here?
Yeah. And
this is the thing, man. It's like showing people a huge Thanksgiving meal and saying, no, that can of ravioli is for you. And I said, and I have never been more angry in my life. You have to understand. And he thought he meant very, very well. And didn't wait. The whole day played back in my head. And he was showing me off as this little poor kid from Flint, Michigan, that he had given this opportunity to. And I was like, he was showing me off like a little, like, you know, it was all about him. It wasn't about me. Yeah. And I said, man, never, never, never. And it made me so mad. And I said, I'm going above Michigan. I said, I'm aiming so high that you will never, that I'll be so big that you can't even see me anymore. Now you have to understand that kind of fire starts with those kind of events. You know what I'm saying? When we allude a little bit on it on the book in a nice way, in an 8 to 12-year-old way, you know what I mean? But but this is the pain that I had to incur because people thought they automatically account you out and they're doing you a favor by saying you're dreaming too much. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I said, no, and I'll tell this to every kid nowhere. In fact, you ain't asking for enough. In fact, as adults, we don't ask for enough. You know what I'm saying? We think, oh, let me just be happy with just a little. I'm like, I'm never happy with just a little. I want it all. I want listen, I don't want anything that belongs to someone else. But damn it, I'm getting every little bit of anything that belongs to Terry Crews. Period.
Absolutely. Excellent. Absolutely. Being told no is a great motivator too.
It is.
You know,
and but it also being counted out as that way. But remember, I have to remember all the time, and this helps me to forgive and helps me to move on, is that they meant well. Right. Like this was not about hating me. You know what I mean? It wasn't about I hate you and I'm going to stop you. They were like, man, I got hurt when I was a kid. I'm trying to save this pain from you. Right. But the deal is, is that I realized that it's not have it or don't. It's everything can be learned. Everything can be gained. If you just keep going, the problem is you either run out of energy or you run out of time.
Yes.
But the deal is, if you just can if you get the energy and the time, you're going to learn anything you want. The fact is, you just got to figure out what you want. And that's it. And I knew what I wanted. I always wanted. You got to know, when I met my wife, and I've been married 34 years. I met my wife when I was 19 years old. We were sitting outside a burger place. We were dating. I said, first of all, honey, I said, I love you. I said, what we're going to do, I'm going to play in NFL, and then we're going to move to LA. We're going to make movies. I always knew what I wanted. And I'm telling you, it went just like that.
I love it.
Even to this day.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
A lot of people don't know that you were in the NFL and you retired in '97. You played with the Rams, the Packers, the Chargers, the Commanders, formerly known as the Redskins,
That's right.
and the awful Philadelphia Eagles. So I got to ask.
All my teams were awful, though. All my teams were awful. So don't worry.
We're really split. I'm a Giants fan. He's a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of Eagles hate in between this group. So,
I just want you to settle a bet for us. You can tell us. The Eagles fans are the worst fan base.
yes.
Right.
Oh man, it's bad. It's bad.
Okay.
Wow.
First of all, I remember that when we were on the Chargers, they hurt my equipment trainer. They threw an ice ball that hit him in the face and put him in the hospital, man. It was it's crazy, man. They booed Santa. It was
booed
nuts.
Santa.
Yeah, they did boo Santa.
It's violent, man. But I have to say though, it's really after the pandemic, it's been taken off all over the NFL. It's a lot of after TikTok, you can see a lot of bad behavior in them stands, man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
lot of
We're
fights.
pent up.
Heads up.
Terry, I gotta ask you something because I have a theory. I have a theory that maybe people here have heard me say before, but it's interesting one. I want to run it by you. There's certain people that we have seen in our lives that are they've got limitless energy, limitless dream. They accomplish so much in their life where most people don't get to be the best in anything. Some of these people become the best in multiple things. I'm talking, of course, by ID. No, look, there's two guys that I idolize, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger became the biggest movie star in the world, biggest action star, was the biggest bodybuilder of all time. He went into politics with an accent, married a Kennedy, became the governor of California. This guy just could do anything. The Rock, who I've loved since I was a kid, became the best wrestler, one of the best wrestlers in the history of the game.
Giant.
Biggest movie star in the world. Now he's like, anything in business he touches, he can make headphones, he can make shoes, and he just keeps going. He makes tequila. Literally anything this guy touches turns to gold. And then Terry, I mean, you've been in the NFL, you accomplished all your dreams. You've been on hosting the biggest talent show in America. Worked on sitcoms with Chris Rock, just acting, hosting, writing, all this talent, all this stuff. And for me, I try to look, as a student of the game, like, what's the commonality? What's the commonality here? And all you guys are jacked. You guys are just big, strong dudes in the gym. And like my curiosity here is that something? Why are all these people who are so successful also so jacked? Is that a certain amount of discipline? Is it a mind state? What is it? Explain it to me.
You know what? I do have to say this. It is, self-discipline is where it really is. It's where the rubber meets the road. You know what I'm saying? It's because you can have a dream, you can talk a lot, but activity, you have to act. It's action. Action gets you from here to there. And it's a chasm, it's a canyon. You know what I mean? Because talking about it feels good. Man, I used to bounce at a bar, and there was so many people that talk about all the stuff they were gonna do, and they're still at the bar. And that was 20 years ago. You know what I mean? 25 years ago, and they're still there talking about what they're gonna do. It's the moment when you say, I'm going to do it now. And then everything starts to change. And this is the thing that I heard a quote that blew my mind, is that discipline is just remembering what you want. That's all it is.
I like that.
Discipline is just remembering what you want. And all of a sudden you kick back into gear. Like, I want to be in shape. I want this to be successful. I want to have this much money this year, or and all of a sudden the discipline comes with it. You know what I mean? But when you don't know what you want, it's a floundering thing. It's kind of like all of a sudden you're drifting. You let your sailboat just go where the wind goes, and you end up somewhere. You're like, I don't even like this. You know what I mean? You're still at the bar in your sailboat. And I realized, man, I was not going to be that guy. I was going to be responsible. And this is the thing I recognize about a lot of driven people like Arnold and The Rock and the whole thing is that they take full responsibility for everything, good and bad. You got to own it all. You got to say, listen, if I messed up, it's me. If I'm successful, it's also me.
There you
You
go.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's
Full
how
accountability.
it's all like, dude, there's nobody to blame. I can't blame my parents. I can't blame the guy that took me to the Michigan football game. You know what I'm saying? But when you still do that, I could still be in the bar telling you that Michigan story. You know what I mean? And why I didn't get where I was supposed to get. But there's a point where you go, well, you know what? But what is now? It's about what I do. It's
Yep.
about every day, what do I do? And listen, it takes discipline to get up at 4:30 in the morning, you know, and work out. And I look at what Dwayne does. I look at what successful people do. I watch what they do. And it takes a lot of self-discipline.
Fantastic. Well,
That's super inspiring, honestly. But then I heard these, sailboats, bars. I'm like, you know how much time I spend in bars and on sailboats? Like, that's literally what I do all
No.
day.
All right, Hawaii.
Well, yeah,
We get
listen,
it, we get it.
well,
coming
after
home
the
at 4:30
discipline,
instead
you can,
rather than getting up.
It's work hard, play hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
The recipe.
Terry, I loved your role of Damon in Friday After Next. One of my favorite characters ever. You and Cat Williams just play off of each other so well. Wanted to ask you about what you thought that character would do, or where you thought that character would go if Ice Cube made The Last Friday. A lot of people thought you were going to be fighting Debo or something like that. Is there any? Did you?
Let me
want-
tell you something. I
Yes.
got to tell you something, man. I'm going to let the secret out. But I've said this before, but, a lot of people don't know that we actually reshot that movie. The way it was done in the beginning, I basically assaulted Cat and got away with it. And the president of New Line Cinema was like, we can't put this out. And believe me, I was a starting actor at the time, and I was like, man, I felt bad doing it. Like, it was like, so you're not gonna get anything back, like nothing. They were like, no. And Cube was like, that's what happens, man. That's how it is. I was like, I don't know. A lot of people are gonna cringe at this one. This was really, really cancelable before you were cancelable.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And we went back and reshot that whole bathroom scene where Cat does this whole thing with the pliers and the whole deal. And I think that, it made a better movie because you don't want to see this guy get away with something so heinous.
Right.
But I think in the second movie, or another movie, if we had done another one, it would have been more, consequences for Damon. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't a good dude. Not at all.
Well, you know who you are a good dude, Terry, and we know you got a busy day and you got to wrap up with us here. But it was great to meet you, Zoom to Zoom. Or we actually have seen you around the SiriusXM studios before, and every time you're walking around, you just light up a room and people smile when they see you. And we appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. Louis, Jason, and Liz. Good to see you. Thank you, everybody. It's really a pleasure, man. And thank you for letting me talk to you.
Absolutely.
Today.
Terry's crew, go pick it up. You won't go wrong.
Yes. And Lizzo, he wants to battle you in the flute off.
I know. I just got to practice some more. I'll practice a
Oh,
little more.
Jesus.
I'm ready, though. I'll
Absolutely.
be ready.
We'll get her the message.
Get her the message. Yes.
Terry Crews, everybody. We got more show for you coming up right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Terry. Really
Thanks, man,
appreciate it,
so
man.
much.
Thanks, everybody.
great,
Thanks,
man.
Cassie.
Thanks.